Andrew Luck has been in the playoffs every year since he came into the league. Last year was the first time he made it into the second round, only to lose to Tom Brady and the Patriots 43-22, which you saw right there. Well, Skip Bayless wrote an article that's up on ESPN.com right now, and he writes this about one Andrew Luck. Can we please wait until this January to coordinate this kid, just to make sure he can win one playoff game without turning the ball over? He's now all of 1-2 in the postseason, 6 touchdown passes to 8 interceptions. Back out live, we welcome our analyst in, Jeff Saturday, NFL analyst, played with the Colts, so you can talk about this. We're going to give the question over to Skip, however. How important do you believe this year is for one Andrew Luck?
I think it's crucial. I'm waiting and I'm seeing, and Jeff, just to bring you up to date, this is a discussion Steve and I have often had on this show. And for the record, and this is what I started off this column with, I do not hate Andrew Luck. In fact, he might be as fine a young man who has ever been a star quarterback in the National Football League. But what I am dumbfounded, continually dumbfounded by, is the premature coronation of Andrew Luck. He is obviously very, very good. But I hear analyst after analyst on this and other networks all but shoo him into the Hall of Fame, as in he's an obvious first ballot Hall of Famer. So I have now changed his name to Andrew Lock, L-O-C-K, because he's a first ballot Lock Hall of Famer. I have to give into it and say, okay, but you know what? I need to see just a little bit more. Even now, he leads this league in passing yards, but he's only 6th in the QBR statistic, because he's tied for 9th in interceptions. He does turn the ball over. He'll throw interceptions, he'll fumble it. And in the postseason last year, he threw not 4 or 5, he threw 7 interceptions in 2 games. And they were very lucky, the Colts were at home, that they climbed out of the hole that he dug with 3 interceptions and won 45-44, because the Chiefs, for reasons that only the injury gods know, they got decimated in that game. They lost both their running backs and both their bookend pass rushing ends, and Andrew Luck in the second half was pressured on only 2 of 25 dropbacks. He was great, but again, he was really, really bad to start off with. And then he went up to Foxborough and didn't throw 2 or 3 interceptions. He threw 4 interceptions. So could we just hold off, as you read my quote, could we at least just see one home playoff game this year? And I think he could have several home playoff games. He could have 2, because I think they're in line with an easy closing schedule. Now, the New England game is dicey, but it's simple enough. To me, it's easy enough. They might wind up with home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So, big picture, give me your feedback on the whole idea of the premature coronation of Andrew Luck.
Yeah, well, for me, from a former player perspective, I look at this in 2 different ways, right? I look at him in his first 3 years, and if you put him around Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in their first 3 years, he stacks up very well, right? He's 72 touchdowns, 36 interceptions. He's only lost 13. Brady had lost 12 at this point. 72 touchdowns, Peyton 85, Brady. All those numbers fit. When you start talking about Hall of Fame, it is way premature in any discussion for any third-year player to be discussed about the Hall of Fame. I don't care. From Peyton Manning in his 3rd year, it's disrespectful to our game for people to start talking about the Hall of Fame when somebody's in their 3rd year of our game. The reason Tom Brady, in my opinion, is a Hall of Fame guy is because Super Bowls, MVP, longevity being one of the key components. Peyton Manning, MVPs, Super Bowl champion, longevity, right? I mean, you look at the way they played this game. They've played it at a competitive level for this many years, and they are still fantastic football players. We throw the word great around way too much in our game. But the problem with comparing Andrew Luck with these 2 guys is where they are in their careers. We need to compare Andrew Luck to other 3rd-year quarterbacks or other quarterbacks. Don't try to take them to the premiere of our game for the history of our game. I think it's unfair in both respects. I think Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, these guys have earned. Steve Young, they've earned that ability because of what they've done, right? When you talk about Andrew Luck, I'm in full agreement. This kid has all the tools to be a potential Hall of Famer, but he still has to prove it. And I love Andrew Luck. I love the Colts. You know, I'm a homer. I'm all those things that I get accused of on here. I pull for the Colts. I will never make any bones about it. And I think he is a fantastic quarterback. He has tools inside the pocket, outside the pocket, physically. The one thing I think that you short him on is his ability to overcome the interceptions.
Sure.
A lot of quarterbacks would fold up when they make mistakes like that.
I agree.
The one thing that I respect about him, or one of the biggest things I respect, is that he will take accountability for what he's done. He's not backing down. Come the fourth quarter, he's still going to be the same gunslinger, and he will win you a lot of football games with that mentality. And it's because he has that. He'll take the accountability, and then he moves on, and let's get better as a football team.
You
I
like
respect
the amnesia that he has.
Exactly.
All
I
right.
love it.
Stephen A., your take.
I would like the producers to take Kerry Champion and Jeff Saturday and move them to the side and put me in a split screen where I get to look directly at my man Skip Bayless being the slickster that he is trying to get away with this stuff. I need to see this man's face. Jeff Saturday, I need you to take notes, okay? Because this is the problem. You fell for the old okie doke with Skip Bayless. Let me tell you what to do. The slickster that he is. Jeff Saturday, Skip Bayless wrote an outstanding column, but if there is such a thing that can be outstanding yet comical at the same time, it was the column that he just wrote because he sat there and being the slickster that he is, trying to reel everybody in to get them off kilter. When we talk about Andrew Luck as Hall of Fame or whatever the case may be, you're not talking about his credentials. Clearly you're not. What you're saying is he has all the requisite tools and all the requisite skills based on everything we've seen from the greats to ultimately be those dudes one day. Skip knows that's what we're saying, but Skip wants to get on them because Skip's bringing up those 7 interceptions in 2 games and all of this other stuff, which brings me to Skip Bayless. You're slickster. I love you, boy, because you're really good. There's nobody better than you, Skip Bayless. But you got to understand something, because see, Skip Bayless knows this, and when I go here, he's going to get uncomfortable. He'll get over it because I'm his brother. He loves me. He'll get over it. Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless. Yeah, you do. You can't help it. You can't help it. Here's the thing, Skip. We understand that Andrew Luck threw those interceptions. We also understand the positive things that he did. But when people are looking at some of the things that you're saying, they're not saying you're inaccurate. They're saying, who are you to say that? Because remember, all he does is win. All he does is win games. Unleash. You know where I'm going. Tim Tebow. 7 and 4.
What does that have to do with this?
Oh, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. 7 and 4. 7 and 4, okay? He had won 6 straight, lost the last 3 games of the regular season, won a playoff game against Pittsburgh, lost a playoff game to New England, where he only completed 9 of 26 passes. You'll sit there in your column and dissect something that Andrew Luck did wrong, but Andrew Luck has won 11 games over his first 2 years in the NFL. He's gone to the playoffs. He's won a playoff game. So despite the mistakes that may have transpired, etc., the bottom line is he's won football games, and he's gone to the playoffs, and you see his talent, and you see the potential that lies there. The Skip Bayless that we know and love would look at that with other quarterbacks that he favored and said that's enough. But with Andrew Luck,
False.
it's suddenly a reason to be ultra-critical.
I can't believe you brought this up.
Why is that?
Okay, are we going to do the Tebow argument again? Is that what we're going to do? Because I'm offended you brought this up, and I'm being serious with you. That's unfair. That's a low ball. That's a cheap shot. You're the one trying to change the subject and the narrative of Andrew Luck.
I'm listening. How am I changing the subject?
I disclosed my personal biases in this column, and Jeff Saturday can appreciate the first one. I thought the Colts made a huge mistake, basically pushing Peyton Manning out the back door prematurely in favor of this kid, Andrew Luck. And I think that Peyton would have given that franchise for 3 straight years a better chance to win the Super Bowl. And I think I've been right about that. That's number one.
All right, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
Number 2,
go ahead.
I said that I thought Robert Griffin III, though I certainly didn't say Andrew Luck would be a bust. I thought he was going to be really good. I thought that Robert Griffin would be slightly better long-term as a pro football player than Andrew Luck. And I think I got proven right about that the first year because RG3 was the Rookie of the Year. RG3 took a team to a division title.
But you keep bringing it up like people have refuted that, and no one has.
Okay.
No one who can refute that RG3 was better than Andrew Luck his rookie year.
But
you keep bringing that up. Nobody's refuted that.
Okay, that's what my column is about. Those are my two biases that we talk about on this show. Look, Tim Tebow does not belong in the same breath with Andrew Luck. I'm offended we're even talking about him because all I said about Tim Tebow was, hey, at the bottom of the first round, I would take a chance on him. And if you let him play the spread option and only the spread option, he can win games in the National Football League. And what happened? He won 7 out of 8 games. I predicted he would go 7-4, and he did. And he won a playoff game. That's all I said.
But that's not the argument. The point is, Skip, regardless, what people heard you say was...
I don't care what they heard me say. This is what I said.
It's about winning games. It's about winning games. Well, if Andrew Luck is winning games, what's the problem?
He's 1-2 in the playoffs. At least Tim Tebow was 1-1 in the playoffs, and I don't care. Tim Tebow's not even in football anymore.
But if you're praising somebody for winning games, how are you going to ignore it when the other dude does it?
As I wrote,
because he was the number one overall pick?
I have been forced.
He was the number one overall pick?
I have been forced prematurely on this show by analysts and certainly by you because you loved Andrew Luck before the draft. And you predicted greatness for him. I have been forced to judge Andrew Luck by the highest level. Most people already say he's a top 5 quarterback in this league. Some people have made the case he's already the best quarterback in this league. So I have no choice but to judge him, as I did with LeBron early, by high standards, lofty standards. And he's not measuring up yet because in the playoffs, he's got nothing to show.
He's just getting started. He's in his 3rd year in the league. And excuse me. And let's go back to your first point, because you keep bringing up Peyton Manning as if people were saying Andrew Luck is better than Peyton Manning.
I think the Colts thought that.
Yes,
they did. They thought he was done. They thought he was washed up. They thought he had 4 neck procedures, and he was never going to be the same.
There was a question about his health, not his skill set. If Peyton Manning is on the field and he can play, then it's about his skill set. So the point that I'm trying to make to you is the only argument that was being made as it pertained to Andrew Luck versus Peyton Manning, do you want 5 years or do you want the next 15 to 20? That's the argument. That's the argument.
Okay, let me bring it back real quick to Jeff. I know he's got to run, but real quick. Am I right? And again, your heart's with Peyton, so I'm probably putting you on a hot seat here. But did they make a mistake not keeping Peyton for the next 3 years?
I think Irsay made a business decision. He felt like he didn't think Peyton was going to be healthy. He wasn't willing to gamble the money. I think if he knew Peyton was going to be healthy,
if he knew now,
I think
he knew then what he knows now.
But I think injury-wise, you got that kind of money coming through. You had to make a business decision.
And you can't determine whether or not that's a mistake or not. You just said business decision.
Yeah, I think he made a complete business. From Irsay's decision, I think he looked at it like, I got to pay this guy this amount of money. He's injured. If Peyton had been healthy, Peyton would have been a Colt.
Okay.
All right, Stephen A., I know you want to ask Jeff a question, but he's got to get out of here and go back to Sports Center.
I know.
So we will pick this up when you're back in town, Mr.
Sounds
Saturday.
good. Sounds good. I like it.
Keep it going. We're done, ladies and gentlemen.